This morning, I'm going to be talking about labor and the plan. Labor and the plan. When most people hear the word labor, the images of hard work and toil and industry and unions and even manual labor appear in their mind. However, for those engaged in serving the plan of hierarchy, labor has a different distinction and image. And as life oftentimes does, wherever our focus of consciousness is, we begin to attract ideas and concepts and even the teaching into our life to elaborate on where that focus is. And for the case this morning, it was labor and the plan. So anyway, a coworker sent this to me. It's from Agni Yoga, though he didn't resource the book and page. And this is what it says. I shall tell you how to wait in the hours of day, not with hymns, nor with exaltation await me, but by strengthening your labor in my name. Not in sleep nor during the repast, but during labor shall I fulfill your hopes. My beloved ones, in the morning, repeating the 7 words, say, help us, lest we neglect your labor. And repeating my name and asserting yourself in my labor, you will attain my day. Cherish and read my words. In these days of hardship, you will be vindicated by labor. And through action, you will be exalted. And by my name, you will attain. I said it. So imagine my surprise when I opened up my iPad this morning and found that email waiting. Oh my gosh. So it must have been that I was to talk about labor and the plan this morning. So let me share the notes with you that I've put together about labor and the plan. For example, labor for us, labor for spiritual people, is a labor and activity that must improve the world. It must improve the world, and at the same time, it must transform ourselves. It also must carry evolution forward. Okay, so this is labor. This is labor for the spiritual person, particularly for an Agni Yogi. Doesn't it create a different image? Right away, it creates a whole different image. And the power of this image, if we bring it into our consciousness and realize the significance of what true labor is, then we will begin to change the thought form of humanity, change the understanding of labor, change the consciousness of humanity to understand that it is a terrific gift that we are given, and that we are not to labor in the name of our bank account or in the name of our personal power or what kind of neighborhood we live in and so forth. But we are to labor for the evolution of the world. We are to labor to transform ourselves. It must carry our evolution forward. When I was young and in college, I was majoring in music and on the violin, and I would rehearse the violin several hours every day for 7 days a week, while my college friends oftentimes were enjoying a social life. Later, all those hours in studies and rehearsing opened many doors where I was able to share music with my family and friends and here in the group. And also it allowed me to perform in various symphonic orchestras after I got out of college. Those many hours of practice and rehearsal were hours that taught me discipline, endurance, and also organization, as well as to understand the composition of musicians, those music masters. But the point is, not even realizing it, it transformed my life, by teaching me those many things. And I really believe that it provided a readiness for me to understand the teaching and to place a tremendous value on the teaching and how the teaching affects our lives when we put it into practice. I wanted to share with you a beautiful affirmation about labor written by Torcum. And he says, this is an affirmation that takes only 1 minute. But after repeating it day after day with hope and faith and sincerity, we will very soon become an awakened human being, and thus a gift for humanity. And also, he says, our future path will enjoy the blessings of life. So here is his affirmation. My Lord, give me strength and inspiration to be beautiful, to work for the beauty of others, to be good and spread goodness all the day, to live in righteousness and spread righteousness, to spread joy to everyone and be joyful all the day, to encourage freedom in others and be free in myself, to be harmless and not cause harm. Lord, help me to stand in your presence. So that's it. Every morning when you go out of your door, try to think about the plan and the goals of your life. I was thinking that, the weather is so beautiful right now, particularly in this part of Arizona, in Prescott. And if you're up early, around 5 or 5:30, you can go out on your deck. And while you're listening to the birds sing and the beauty of the silence in nature, you can really sound this affirmation and let it start your day. And then think about the plan and the goals of your life. Think about what the plan is and how your goals will fit into that plan. Our understanding of labor is that it must improve the world and carry our evolution forward. I know this is a repetition, but really think about this when you go about your day-to-day life. Is what you are doing improving your environment in some way? That's the world to us, the environment we live in. Then you can ask yourself, are my goals going to help my group or my family and my group to improve? Are my actions, my thoughts, my words going to help my family and my group improve? and carry our evolution forward? These are amazing questions. And if we place value in these questions and our answers, of course, it will change our consciousness, the way we live our day-to-day life. It will make us think. It will teach us discernment and intuitive discrimination. And soon we're going to find ourselves no longer wasting our time, no longer wasting that emotional body, and no longer wasting time with ridiculous and stupid thoughts. Now, there are three main characteristics to labor. And the first is to help the plan for humanity to manifest. Of course, you have to know what the plan is. But there's a wonderful little booklet written by Torkim called Hierarchy and the Plan. I'm sure some of you have studied it and others have it sitting on your shelf to be read at some point. But it's right in there. It talks to you first about hierarchy and its membership. And soon you become thrilled to understand that there is a brotherhood out there that is protecting humanity. And then what will happen is you'll begin to be inspired. And that in that inspiration, you're going to say, how can I contact one of these great beings and be of service? And what is the plan? I mean, these are the comments that I've heard over the years from various students, including myself. What is that plan? And toward the end of the book, the plan is given, but only in kind of an outline form. But there's enough substance to what's written that if you really think about it and think about the plan, over the years of your life, that plan begins to unfold, and you see how that plan is unfolding in your own work, in your own labor, in your own service. So that's one of the main characteristics of labor. The next main characteristic is to give yourself a new birth. Oh, you want to think about who you were, what you were, how you even thought when you were a child, when you were in high school. Forget, middle school and grade school. We were just adapting to this amazing planet. You remember back in the day. And go into your last year in high school, or maybe your junior year in high school, and you really began to think about the rest of your life. And your parents were really encouraging you to think about, what you were going to be in your career and as a professional and so forth. And then you found the teaching. Eventually, you found the teaching. Whether you were in high school or whether you were 5 years old or 7 or 35. And then you began to realize that you needed to be something different. You wanted to be someone different. You wanted to change your beingness. And it was at that point you put yourself on the path to give yourself a new birth. So the first characteristic is to help the plan for humanity to manifest. And the second is to give yourself a new birth. Now that's pretty exciting. And the third characteristic of these three main characteristics is to give birth to the collective soul of humanity. If I had thought about this 20 years ago, I would have felt defeated, because even though I've always thought very how can I say, in a large way, in an international way. Even when my husband and I were in business, I wanted to engage in a international and, expansive business like that. Never was I happy with engaging in something just for the community, for whatever odd reason. But when I was thinking about the collective soul of humanity, how would that be possible? Today, it is possible. It really is possible. One of the reasons is because I believe in the internet. I believe, that the internet is one of those ways. And now, my gosh, so many spiritual groups like ourselves are producing and distributing the teaching through GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting, and where it's allowing us to communicate on an international level. We are publishing books, first in hard copy, now ebooks, where you can just download these incredible, illuminating books of the teachings into your Kindle or into your iPad or into your Nook or whatever, all these, little books that come out now that we can download the teaching and carry them around with us and share them with others. I really, really believe that this is how we are going to give birth to the collective soul of humanity. When I talk to people who are engaged with young ones from age 7 through 25, and even communicating myself with kids that age. Usually, my communication is between 18 and 25. Whenever I feel depressed in working with people my age, I go back, I know, to these kids between 18 and 25, and they are so filled with life. Not filled with the life that I was filled with, or that you were filled with. They think in terms of the whole world. They think in terms of this planet and how they can protect the resources of this planet, how they can bring joy to their family and to their business associates. I was talking to a young woman the other day, and she was talking about her realization of a boss that was lazy and negative. And she said, how can I work for someone like that in an environment that is supposed to bring beauty, into the world? And I said, that's your task. At that young age, thinking about others is going to is a sign that we're going to give birth to the collective soul of humanity. So what is the plan? The plan as a whole is a field of values. The plan as a whole is a field of values. This is so beautiful. Listen to this. Each value is like a flower in the field. So if you've ever read the first 2 books of Agni Yoga series, what is it called? The Leaves of Moira's Garden. Yeah, the leaves are the flowers in the Master's garden. The value, each leaf is a value in the field of humanity, in the field of life. Values give meaning and significance to our life. Understanding the plan unfolds our sense of meaning. Okay. Understanding the plan unfolds our sense of meaning. Living according to the plan increases our value and significance. Now, we don't have to be the president of a country or the president of a huge conglomerate that has companies all over the world. We don't have to be in that position. We just need to live our life according to our value system. And it's a simple life. It's, for example, over the weekend, yesterday actually, I was looking through the lens of one of our security cameras, and looked like there was a car parked on the property when this property is, not open. And so I quickly called up one of our members, and she said, let my husband run out there and check right now. And he was in the middle of doing something. He never thought twice. He never said, listen, you're going to have to wait until I'm done doing what I'm doing. He just said, let me run out there right away. This last week, he's been very laboriously engaged in putting up this wonderful, beautiful wall out at the west end, of the sanctuary, if you've looked at it. It's magnificent, it's beautiful, and he hasn't brought attention to it, to himself. He's just doing it as a soul. This is what it means to live our values and to understand the plan. So the plan is the method through which the life energy functions toward manifestation. Where the life energy functions toward manifestation. It is the orderly ways and means by which life energy manifests and unfolds. This is the purpose of life. See, life does not need to be tedious and dull and horrible and painful and causing us to think, in ways that are self-defeating. It will not be that way if you allow values to step into your life, to give you meaning and significance. The plan, listen to this, the plan exists as a prototype. And cyclically, each kingdom and every part of a kingdom makes a contact with the plan and tries to manifest it. So it's not just the human kingdom that the plan is designed for, but every single kingdom in nature. Those sensitive men and women, those who are awake or awakening and are in contact with the plan, will labor to increase beauty on earth. When we first purchased this property, so it was like about a year and a half ago now, and we started by gutting this whole inside of this house. If you remember, I have pictures of it. You wouldn't believe it to now look at where it is. And now we are beginning to work on the outside with the memorial garden and this beautiful flowers and the garden that Edward and Diana are putting into place. And look how it's all of a sudden, it's like waking up, isn't it? And look what we have to look forward to in the future. To add more color and beauty. So when people drive by, they're going to turn their heads and say, my gosh, is that the same property that we saw a year and a half ago? It is, we're turning it into beauty, and it's going to make everybody feel good. I think now of this gate that we have. When we started out, we had the ugliest gate in the entire world that just would never work. And we just did everything to try to make it work with solar panels. And you cannot even imagine. Well, some of you can imagine. It was so ugly, and we were so tired of it. And our next door neighbor would call and say, what is that horrible noise that keeps coming from the solar generator? And so one day a member said, let me buy a new gate. And it is so beautiful. Every time I come up to this white gate and it opens automatically, I push the button. It's gorgeous. And I am so grateful for it. It is just, because it changes your attitude as you come in onto the property, doesn't it? It's so wonderful. So those sensitive men and women, those who are awake or are awakening and in contact with the plan, will labor to increase beauty on earth, because the plan inspires them and energizes them to fulfill their labor in spite of all difficulties. They will work hard to increase goodness and goodwill in the lives of people everywhere. They will increase joy on earth in the hearts of people everywhere, giving them security and eliminating fear from their lives and creating hope in their hearts. If you are aware, and I believe that we all are aware, we see how the forces of darkness are trying to manifest the exact opposite in the world, rather than creating joy in the hearts of people everywhere. They're creating fear and sadness and despair and hopelessness. Anything but giving us security and a sense of protection. So that's our job. That's the job of those who are awakened and are awakening, is to understand that joy must be increased in the hearts of everyone. Those who are awakening are going to work hard to increase freedom in the hearts of people everywhere. Those who are true servers of the plan. Some people do not know that they are enslaved by their glamours and illusions and habits and hang-ups and fears and anger and sense of revenge and so forth. They don't know it, but we see it. So, this is why it says we must work hard to increase freedom in the hearts of people everywhere. We're also going to work hard to increase the health of people and the health of the planet. This means that we must encourage those young people who want to go into the health profession and direct them in the right way. I was listening to a news program yesterday, Arizona program actually, when they were talking about robotics and surgery, and how this one woman had some kind of cancer, and so she had, hysterectomy and some other things taken out of her by a robot. And what happened is that her whole inside fell out. And so she's now suing them, and of course the people, the hospital she's suing is saying it's not their responsibility. To have a robot work on you is getting so far away from human contact, from inspiration, from the God-given talents that such people are born with. We do not need, in my opinion, a robot, to engage in critical surgery on our bodies. So this is how we can help those that want to go into the health field, to encourage them to really think about life and what it is, It's not about pharmaceuticals and medicines. And I know we've all heard these incredible drugs. You know, they present them, this advertising. They start out with the name of the drug and say, well, wow, that's something I could use for my arthritis. I don't have arthritis, but I still think I do. But that's what they think, air quote. This is something that will take away my fibromyalgia. And then they are required by law to say what the effects of that drug, and oh yes, it may cause death. Wow, I'm going to feel great for a year and then die because of that drug. Well, I lost a dear friend in the year 2000 because of a drug she was given for migraine headaches. I fully believe that that was the cause of her death. And it was an experimental drug back then. So that's not what we want to encourage our young people to look for when they go into the health field. Let them be free and begin to educate themselves through intuition and through intuitive doctors who are in touch with the plan. Okay. We must give ourselves a new birth. We must give ourselves a new birth. To work hard to regenerate ourselves, our physical, emotional, and mental bodies, and also to regenerate ourselves spiritually. Our physical body and life must reflect beauty and health. Physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health. Our emotional life must reflect purity and joy. It must be free from negativity and various hang-ups. Our mental life must be free and creative and beautiful. We must be willing to work hard to establish contact with higher beings and higher worlds. Such workers are the most noble servants of the plan, because without the guidance of the higher worlds, the teaching tells us that life will end in destruction. The plan is going to impress our hearts to build higher contacts with spiritual realities. So we must give our soul a new birth. We are born as a physical body, but we are not yet born as a soul. The destination of all the labor we do is to make ourselves to be born as souls, individually and collectively. But such a birth does not occur until the habits of our body, emotions, and mind are conquered. A new soul cannot come into being until we begin to think and feel and act in noble ways. In our Wednesday evening class, we are studying consciousness. We are studying a book about the evolution of consciousness. In chapter 7 of that book, it tells us about how important it is to destroy old thought forms of anger and greed and hatred and, well, many, many other things. Until we do these things, a new soul cannot come into being. All great ones have one supreme goal in their painful labor: to give birth to the soul of humanity. In the labor of giving birth to the soul of humanity, then all personal and racial and national interests are going to be left behind. Only humanity and the birth of the soul of humanity must occupy our attention and efforts. Now listen to this. Enlightened ones are those people who are souls and not bodies. See, we are so crystallized in our level of consciousness that all we can see of another person is that body. And maybe a little of their emotions, but primarily all we can see is that body. So when an enlightened one comes into our life or passes by us, all we're going to see is their physical body, not their soul. To reach these noble people and to see the glorious future of every human being, we must begin to see the souls of one another. And I'm going to wrap up with this. Too bad. Well, I'm going to save the rest of this for another time because it is so beautiful and it's so worth talking about and understanding. It is only through collective renunciation of the personality interests that the birth of the soul of humanity can take place. Through renunciation. If you don't really understand renunciation, read the Bhagavad Gita as translated by Torgrim Serdarian, because it is that translation that helps you understand that the whole book of the Bhagavad Gita is about renunciation. So it is only through the collective renunciation of the personality interests that the birth of the soul of humanity can take place. To reach these noble objectives, we must work in the 7 fields of human endeavor, having the goal of the birth of the human soul in our hearts. Okay, so I'm going to end at that point. And I think that's a good place to end, actually, so that we don't get saturated. And I think we've been given enough information this morning to really think about, giving birth to our soul and the collective soul of humanity. And how are we going to serve the plan? And are we? And to really understand that this is what labor is all about.